Welcome in to episode number 2, Reimer on the Road. Ann and Scott, thanks for joining along with us. We're excited to continue to share our journey and our trip around the country. We're almost there. And in this episode, we're going to talk about a truck and a pad. And that is probably not what everybody tuned in for, because everybody keeps asking about the rig, which we're in right now. People want to know about the rig, right?
Yeah, they do. Like where we're going to be living for the next year.
Our mini house.
Our mini house. Yeah.
We have to wait till episode 3 for that. And I promise we'll go through the whole rig inside and out and talk about it in detail in episode 3. But for now, in episode 2, we're going to talk about 2 of the big 3 purchases that we had to make. Actually, 2 of them we had to make. 1 of them we chose to make.
Yep.
And in this episode, we're going to talk about buying a truck that we needed to carry around our mini house for a year, and the choice we made with a pad. So let's start with our truck purchase. Obviously, when we knew we were going to be pulling a rig, we had to also buy a truck that could pull that rig. And so I did a tremendous amount of research, most of it online. Now, I didn't grow up branded by the truck companies. Some people grow up Chevy guys or gals, GMC, Ford, Ram, or Toyota, and you buy every car by the same brand or every truck by the same brand. That wasn't me. So I was kind of an eyes wide open kind of shopper. I was really just looking for the best price for the type of truck that I wanted and needed. Now, I did a tremendous amount of research online about what size truck to get, and it really came down to 4 things. The first decision was, do I want to do a 2500 or a 3500? Now, the towing capacity of the 3500 is much more than the 2500, but that doesn't really matter as much to me because I already knew the type of rig I had, and the 2500 would have been plenty of truck for that rig. And I also needed to determine whether I wanted the single rear wheel or the dual rear wheel, or dually. A big decision that had to be made was whether I was going to go with gas or diesel. Obviously, gas is cheaper at the pump than diesel, but a diesel truck is going to have a little bit more power. And the final decision that I had to make was whether I wanted to go with the short bed or the long bed. And all of this research that I did primarily was through YouTube and doing just a lot of rabbit hole researches, watching videos, reading blogs, just educating myself on what the trucks were and what I really thought I needed. So I encourage you to do that if you're in the market to buy a truck. But what did I buy? What did we buy? Well, here's the big reveal. Let's check it out. The Ford. We finally settled on the 2024 Ford F-350 single rear wheel 4x4 crew cab. It's the Lariat style trim with a 186-inch, or otherwise known as the 8-foot long bed. We chose the 6.7 high output power stroke diesel. It has a 3.55 axle, and the color is iconic silver, with the interior being black onyx leather. All right, so there you go. It's the 2024 Ford F-350. And just like we do in all of the videos we're going to share with you, we're going to talk about some of the things we like about it, like about our trips, like about our purchases, and some of the things that maybe we regret a little bit. So let's start with the good stuff. What do you like about the truck?
Well, what's not to like about a new truck?
Yeah.
I mean, a new truck, new car, whatever, it's great. I mean, it's got a nice big screen.
Yes.
Backup screen. It's got lots of different angles that you can, for backing up. It does like an overhead, which makes it easier for me who's not used to driving such a big vehicle. Mm-hmm. Very spacious. I like the leather seats in it. I like all the little gadgets and gadgets. It's got holes and places to put lots of stuff. It's got great options for powering your phones and other sundries while we're driving, not just one. There's multiples. And it's got, one of my favorites, the heated seats.
Yes, it does.
Very, very comfortable. And then dual climate. That's good because we don't always agree on what the temperature should be. And very spacious in the back, in the crew cab part where we can put down the seats easily. I mean, super easy. But you can also put them up and get them out of the way. And it's something that I can do. Doesn't require a lot of strength to get through and navigate.
Yeah, I agree with all that. My first thing that I like about it, my first positive or pro, I think maybe also one of the cons eventually, but that's the long bed. Yeah. It is very controversial. I think probably the biggest decision I had to make was whether to go with the single wheel or the dually, which you talked me into the single wheel pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that was the right move. But the next one was the long bed or the short bed. And the negative of that we'll get to in a minute. The positive of the long bed, though, is that it takes away a lot of the worry of turning. Whether you're backing or going forward, if you have a fifth wheel and you're in a regular sized bed, you always have to be cognizant of the angle in which you're turning, either going forward or backwards, because the rig can hit your truck. Right. And I've seen so many YouTube videos.
The windows, yeah.
It's for it to be always on your mind. The long bed almost takes that totally away. I think there's a possibility if you really wanted to try it, you could probably jackknife it, but it takes a tremendous angle. And I know a lot of people that already have a truck and they get a fifth wheel. They don't want to upgrade their truck, so they keep the short bed. And there are things you can do, and you can go on YouTube and figure all that out, about getting certain fifth wheel hitches that allow for a little bit more grace in your turning angles. But if you are going to buy a truck along with a fifth wheel, I encourage the long bed. Another positive that I had, it's kind of a pleasant surprise, is the gas mileage the diesel is getting when not pulling. Now, that's not to say it's not getting good when pulling. Almost everything you research in pulling a fifth wheel, you're going to get between 10 and 13 miles per gallon, which is what ours gets. What I was pleasantly surprised at, I thought we would get about 15 or 16, maybe 17 miles a gallon when we aren't pulling something, but we're getting upwards of 20 miles per gallon. And that's smart driving, not going over the top and going really, really fast or accelerating unduly like what you try to do sometimes when you're driving. So it's treating the truck well as you drive. It's getting a little over 20 miles a gallon. And I haven't even gotten into all the eco systems of the Ford. You can set the settings to where it doesn't have as much power and get better gas mileage. That's just straight out of the box running it. So the gas mileage has been a pleasant surprise. Now for the things we don't like. And I'll let you say what you don't like the most about it at this point.
Well, I mean, there's not a major negative to it, but alluding to one of your positives, it's a big truck. I mean, it's long. It's got the long bed, which is why one of the other reasons why I didn't want to go with the dually, because then that also makes it wider. We're going to be, traveling in mountain towns and small towns, and we're gonna have to get our exercise on, because we're not always gonna be able to find a parking spot right at the very front. We're gonna have to search sometimes to be able to park it, and so it's so large. I've not gotten to where I'm comfortable with it yet.
Yeah, it's hard to park if you have other cars around you. And Of course, trucks are, especially Super Duty trucks, are also known for poor turning radius, and that's, also a part of it. But the length of it makes it very difficult to park in town. You can forget about parking garages for the most part, all of that kind of stuff.
And
so
it takes up 2 spots.
yes,
Easy.
Yes. So when you're not pulling something, it can be cumbersome to get around, and you end up parking in the back of parking lots, or like you said, park way away and walk into someplace.
Or Scott can drop me off.
That's right.
He goes and
which
parks.
is the way it will happen. Here's another couple of cons to the truck, but we need to step out of our rig for me to show you those. So check this out. One of the biggest negatives about the purchase of the truck actually doesn't have anything to do with the purchase of the truck. It is with the addition that I got with the 5th-wheeled hitch, the standard one from Ford. It's the 20,000 pound hitch. It came installed with the truck when I built it, which was nice. It works great. It's a little fussy until you kind of learn its nuances in terms of hooking up to the RV and then disengaging. But we kind of figured that out after a few trips, and so that hasn't been an issue. So it performs well. What the negative of it is that this is extremely heavy. It's 170 pounds, which for me is almost impossible to get off of the truck by myself. So it would take 2 people to get this on and off the truck. Now, when we go full-time and we're traveling about every 5 days, taking this off the back of the truck isn't a really big deal. We'll probably would have left it on there even if it was lighter. But when we're just weekend camping or periodically camping through the year, it would be nice to be able to take this on and off the truck so that it's not attached to it all the time. But again, it's very cumbersome to do so. So if we get back from the trip and we're going to continue to camp with a 5th wheel, probably the thing that I'm going to do is invest in a lighter weight 5th wheel hitch that can more easily be taken on and off the truck when we're not towing. Another con of the purchase of this truck is that I did an upgrade that I'm not sure I'm going to like long term, and that is the electronic skids. And so as you can see, when I open a door, voila, that comes down. That seems very nice. The electronics of it is fancy, makes you feel good, right? Well, these things are going to have some type of shelf life. They're only going to go up and down so many times before they go bad. And I knew that when I upgraded, and I was happy to do the upgrade, even knowing that. But here's what I don't like about the setup of this, and there's probably some Ford truck people that can comment on this and help me fix this. I just haven't been able to find a way to do so. And let me explain. The timing of it coming down before it goes back up is too quick. So I'm going to demonstrate that and why I don't like this right now in this very simple tutorial video. So let me grab the camera. Here we go. And let's say that you're using and loading something into the back of the truck. Okay, we're going to get in here. We're going to put some stuff into the truck. We're ready now to close it up. You can see the skids have come down. We're going to close the door. And we're going to take our walk around the truck to get into the passenger side. Look at this. The skids have already come up. So now I've got to open it back up again. The skids come down. The timing of it is too quick. It needs to stay down longer so that you have an opportunity once you close the door on one side of the truck, that when you walk around the truck to get into the other side, they would not have gone back up. As you can see, they just went up and now it's up. It's just creating extra ups and downs, which is going to speed up the time from which these go bad. So again, maybe there's a way to fix this. If so, internet, help me out.
So that's all about the truck. So now let's talk about the pad, which is, where were we going to park the rig? And we, looked at our driveway, looked at our property, and was trying to figure out if there was a way that we could make it happen, that it would be here. I think we went through several options, thoughts. There was some spot, on the side of our driveway that maybe we could have carved out a space for. But then I think we started zeroing in on the rig, and we realized sort of the size we were going to be getting, and we kind of had to rethink where we would be putting her.
We also had, I think, the most annoying tree in the history of trees.
We did.
What was it? I don't even remember.
It was a river birch, and it was really beautiful, but it was messy and it was large. It had 3 huge trunks on it. One of those, of course, going over our house, and so we had actually brought that down a couple years before we bought and got into all of this traveling. We had left the root, the stump, because it was just so large. Huge. And it really wasn't in our way because it was behind the driveway, behind the fence. But then we envisioned, could we push through the top of the driveway and just push back into our backyard, an area that we really weren't using other than the dogs walking, through here. And so I think the idea began. Mm-hmm. What do we do?
We're taking kind of an unused part of our backyard and turning it into a place to store the rig. We also, especially when our daughters Taylor and Megan were in town, when we had 4 vehicles, our drive, because we only use the garage as a 1-car vehicle currently, and that's your vehicle. And so having 3 vehicles out in our driveway was really tight to begin with. So even though we bought a rig, we thought, well, if we no longer keep the rig when we get back from this trip, we still now have some additional parking when it comes to the pad. But probably the biggest surprise in the pad's design was, which we couldn't envision until it actually was landscaped, was how deep they were going to have to cut into the slope of our backyard, which created a very high back wall and a very shallow front wall, which I would have never envisioned when we undertook this adventure.
Right. And something in the design process of it, we almost goofed because
I almost goofed.
We didn't take into account those high walls. And if we have a rig that's going to have slide outs on both sides, well, that adds another 8 to 10 feet that we really hadn't planned for.
No, and I remember the night before they were going to begin setting the footing on the pad and saying, we goofed. I don't know that because of the slope whether we'll be able to get our slides out, so we need to actually expand the pad out further so that we had enough clearance to open the slides without worrying about the sides of the pad. And in hindsight, we would have been wrong because the way the rig sits in the pad now, had we not widened it, we would not have been able to open the slides to their full extent. And so now our rig sits in our pad. A couple of things that you like about having the rig here at our house.
Well, gosh, I mean, what's not to like about having it right outside your door? I mean, when you're packing, or if I just need to, maybe I'm ordering something for the rig, or I need to go to the store and buy something, I can just walk right out here with my little measuring tape and I, get it organized. I figure out what size I need and I go right back in. Or when we are prepping to go on a trip, it's I can just slowly start pulling stuff out here during the week and not having to load everything up into a car and then drive to a storage place and put it up. I mean, it's here. It's so convenient. And sometimes I have extra supplies out here, that I've run out inside. Well, I can just run out to the rig and get my extra supplies that I've got out here.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that kind of going exactly in what you're talking about, what's neat on my end is that if we're going to leave on a trip, let's say on a Friday, we can come out on Thursday morning and we can turn our refrigerator on. We have shore power coming from the house that has enough to run the lighting and the refrigerator here in the rig. And so we can get the refrigerator cold and the freezer. And then the night before we leave for a trip, we can just load everything into the refrigerator and freezer and have it sit overnight. So we're not on travel day, we're not loading very much stuff.
We come home from work, we change clothes, grab the last few things, grab the dog, and we're out.
Yeah, and that kind of goes the same way with hooking up. We'll go ahead and hook up the rig to the truck, and I'll take our other car to work that day. And so when we come home, literally we're just hopping in and leaving. So that has certainly been the pro. The first thing that I think about with the con is I'm really not sure. Well, first of all, it was expensive. Concrete is expensive.
Yeah.
We're in the wrong business.
I did not realize that.
Yes, very expensive. And I think it's one of those luxuries that we've done that we probably will never see the return on the investment of that.
No.
Even if we would have stored it for 5 years or 10 years or however long we would have stored the rig, what that expense would be is probably not anywhere near what the cost of the pad itself was, nor what we might could get back in reselling. I don't. There's a couple of ideas you could do. In fact, when we were building it, people thought it was a pickleball court.
Right. we got a pickleball court in our backyard.
You could make a pickleball court out of it. I also think it's pretty would be great for a boat if somebody had a boat. Even if you're not into RVing, if we were to resell somebody with a boat to be able to keep it with them, and again, just for extra parking. I guess in theory you could do a little work out here and set up an outside kitchen, maybe.
I think you could. I think you could do an outside kitchen. You can have a play area. I mean, bring in different gaming systems and stuff that can be out here, and this have a fire pit, one of those portable fire pits. I mean, someone can totally make it into more than a pad for parking a boat or an RV or cars. But it was an investment to us, and to me, it was worth the money for the convenience. I know you're saying it's not, maybe in the end, it didn't save us on storage fees, or it would take a long time to save us. But man, what you're willing to pay for convenience nowadays, it's hard to put a price on that.
Yeah, and for me, and I think you as well, we were, as we said in the first episode, learning how to RV. We didn't know anything about RVs, and so for me to be able to come out and piddle around with things, for lack of a better word, I learned how to winterize the RV. It was here at my house. I didn't have to go somewhere to do that, and you can make small mistakes here and not do it the right way and just do it again. So that part of it, I think, also has been really nice. But there's no question that if we were weekend camping and doing that instead of this full trip, and when we get back, maybe that's who we're going to be as weekend campers. The convenience of having your rig at your house is priceless, really.
Big.
Yeah,
it's big. Yeah.
All right, that's episode 2 that we have wrapped up. Episode 3 coming down the pipe in just a couple of weeks, and we'll finally introduce you to our rig, which is what everybody wants to see, and we'll show you the inside, the outside, and some of the modifications that we've made to her as we get ready for this trip. We're less than 50 days away from being wheels up, and we're glad that you're following us along on this trip with us. Make sure you subscribe, give some comments, talk about the truck, talk about the pad. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And remember, it's Reimer on the road. Do it today.